very second we're hype.
So there was a fight announcement today, dude. Like I never know when fight announcements are happening. I used to be like control all that stuff, and now I'm totally out of the loop. And like I knew about the fight, but dude, those two, that's a high level fight.
Dude, it's nuts.
Those guys are both like complete studs.
I think on paper you see 3-0 as a pro, and you automatically know like that's the trajectory that the UFC is going to start looking for. That's the people that are on Dana White Contender Series are 5, 6, 7-0.
That's
those
when
guys.
the radar starts.
Exactly.
Yep.
But then you look at the other side. So Victor Lipari, like that speaks for itself.
It's not just the radar starts there. If you're fighting the right guys, the radar starts there. If you're 3-0 and you have guys that are like all debuts with poor amateur records and like maybe you're not on the radar yet.
Right.
But if you're fighting like solid guys and you're 3-0 and you had a solid amateur career and like you had a dominant amateur career or like a one-loss amateur career, like you're on their radar at that point.
Absolutely. That's super true. I'm trying to see if the video will load. Yeah, it's loading now. It looks like I was getting an error on. Yep, we're good. We're good. The other side of that, Lipari, like 3-0, speaks for itself. He's looking for UFC dreams. Cody Matthews, somehow to me, like Lipari, like I said, speaks for itself. We're super hyped to have Victor. That goes without saying. Cody Matthews is the one you look at 2-2, and you're like, "What is this? Like a journeyman kind?" No, dude.
Dude, it's
he's
like,
such a stud.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was, I think, 6-0 as an amateur.
Or 6-1.
So maybe he had a loss. I thought he was undefeated.
I think he made a. I don't know.
Either way, a stellar amateur career, and then one of his losses as a pro was in Bellator. No shame in that. We see it happen to guys when they take that leap maybe a little too early. And now he's back.
Or you got to jump on the opportunity
exactly,
when it comes.
Exactly.
Right?
Now he's coming off a huge head kick knockout victory, and like he wants to ruin Victor Lipari's spotless record, and I love that. I love that mentality.
Wreck it,
Ralph.
rough it. This is the show before the show. Just in case you're tuning in, we're going official at 12. But we're just kind of letting the stream run and making sure that when 12 o'clock rolls around.
Yeah,
we're rocking and rolling.
So if you guys are here early, thank you for that. Either you're just really ambitious or you received the push notification to your phone, which is also awesome. Thank you for having the 247 Live app on your iPhone or iOS device, the iPads. You can get it on a MacBook too, didn't you say? You can get it?
Yeah, but it's like the
iPad version just scaled for a MacBook. That's cool. I didn't
cool.
even realize that.
I mean, that's cool.
Didn't even realize that. Get it on Roku.
You got to believe that.
I don't think the push notification goes to Roku devices.
Dude, I like when beer says extra juicy.
Yeah, like my booty boy. I'm going to recycle that joke.
I'm a Southern tier guy. I like call me a
first time I ever had a beer with you, you got it 2 times. Southern tier 2 times. Yeah. You're like, I like that one. I know I like that one. It's consistent. It is. It's good.
Yeah.
This is a very beer nerd story, but I'll share it with you. You're really not going to care that much, but
I already don't.
My friend from college owned a brewery in Parkersburg, West Virginia.
You only had one.
Yeah, it was my friend, singular, from college, had a brewery. So my friend group in college was a bunch of beer nerds. Like I had to get into craft beer just to hang with them. One year we did an IPA blind taste test shootout. We got 16 of the best IPAs from all over the world. Like we were literally shipping beers, getting these rare beers from up in New England that you can't get here. And we did blind taste testing bracket style, like Sweet 16 brackets. And Southern Tier 2 times made it all the way to the Final Four. Beat out all these giant,
buddy.
It surprised me, man. It definitely surprised. It didn't win, but it made the Final Four.
It is officially noon.
Which means it's officially podcast time. Nice. This is going to be a cool episode, man. I've been having the calendar circled for this one for a while. This is an idea that we kicked around for a while. And just the more I thought about it, I'm like, I love having fighters and guests in here, obviously, but there's more to the 247 story than so many people know, more than I knew for sure. And you're probably going to say stuff today I didn't know.
Well, I see this as like a therapy session.
Which is why we have beer. The best kind of therapy involves beer, for sure.
Yeah.
But you started 247 Fighting Championships in 2019. It's almost coming up on exactly 4 years of business right now.
Mm-hmm.
You battled a pandemic. You battled some people who didn't want you to win.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just toss it to you. Just take us through, why did you start 247 Fighting Championships first of all? It's a bold risk right off the bat to just say, I'm going to start a regional MMA promotion.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately what it comes down to is I love MMA. I've always loved MMA. Like UFC 1, like that's me. Like I'm old, you know, like I'm old enough to, like, when I was in high school, like we got UFC, you know, I was a freshman and we were like, I was like, dude, I saw this in, I think it was from like, I think they advertised in some kind of fantasy football or I don't know what it was, but it was some kind of football magazine that Ultimate Fighting put a ad in, and I saw it and I'm like, we got to do this.
That's sweet.
So like my friends in high school, we were at my girlfriend's house, and so I've been that lifelong MMA fan and never really got into regional MMA. And you know, back in 2016, Jim, the matchmaker, Jim Mooney, and Dan Altieri and I went to UFC 203, and we happened to be in the same hotel as all the fighters, and we're like, we went up on Thursday, we went to the press conference, we went to all that stuff, and we just had a blast. We were hanging out with the fighters the whole time, and I had this camera that was like actually, it was the same cameras as the ones.
Oh, really?
That
nice.
camera right there, the one that's on me. I had a camera like that.
Nice.
And it's a nice camera.
4K in 2016?
Yeah, dude.
Whew.
Those cameras have been around, bro. Whew. Okay, so I'm like, the fighters are getting off the buses and stuff, and we could probably like this is live, but
yeah.
I have all this footage of fighters coming off buses, and they're literally like, yo, they're acting like we're
Thought
press.
You were like a legit cameraman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we just had a blast, right? So we're driving home, and I'm like, this is what I've had a career, done a bunch of different things in my business career, and it was always like doing work that I got paid for, right?
Right.
And ultimately, it wasn't like the fun stuff I enjoy. And so I was like, I don't care what it is. Like, I have to start doing something productive with my passion for MMA. Like, I love this stuff. So we started a blog, which was called Octagon 24/7. And we started a podcast, which is still around. It's called MMA Fancast.
Thriving, I would even say.
And that was me and Jim, and Dan would make periodic appearances. And we did that podcast, and we were just having fun with it, and started catching steam, and then we were doing some Bellator shows and some stuff like that. We were just having fun, but it was cool because we were like on press row all of a sudden, and like it was fun.
That's awesome. That now the leap from that though, that's like dabbling in media things, doing some reportery things, going to events. What was the leap from that to actually promoting?
So along the way, we had covered a show in Pittsburgh. It was a Pinnacle show. And we also, before that, went to an Ohio show and covered that before we started like getting bigger to Bellator.
What was the Ohio show?
It was Caged Madness.
Oh. So that's what Cage Thunder turned into, right?
It is, yes.
Or that turned into Cage Thunder.
I think it was Caged Madness was the guy the
Randy's
guy that,
dad.
Yes,
right?
Randy's dad ran it.
That's awesome.
I literally just learned that this past weekend.
That just came full circle for you, yeah.
Exactly. So when we went to that Cage Thunder, then we went to Pinnacle, then we started doing some Bellator, and then I'm looking for a show in Pittsburgh, and there's like nothing going on. So I hit up the promoter for Pinnacle, and I said, "Hey, dude, like, are you gonna have a show?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know, like." It's a lot of work, and like I'm not really feeling it. And I was like, well, let's get together. I convinced him for us to meet. We got together, and I said, like, let's do this. Like, I'll do it. We'll go 50-50. We'll like I'll do the work.
Yeah.
And so we basically promoted a show together, and then like went our separate ways after that. And then in the coming months, I decided like I want to do this. So that's what we did.
That's awesome. I think when you look at the history of Pittsburgh MMA, and for sure Pinnacle was vital to that. I mean, when I was just starting as a reporter, when I was still in college, writing for Bleacher Report, covering the UFC, that's how I got in on the local scene. Like I was covering Pinnacle events, talking to Pinnacle fighters, and ended up being a huge blessing because the Pittsburgh scene at the time was, Kama, Milstead, Cherico, Mazar. Like it was guys that I am very glad I got to talk to that early, and even Cody Garbrandt. Like when he got to the UFC, I think I was the first guy really talking to him and telling his story and stuff. Like I felt cool, you know what I mean? I'm like, hey, I knew you before you were you. Like it was one of those deals.
I knew you before you knew you.
Exactly. So I like felt super fortunate about being in that place at that time. So I understand like being involved in that scene could inspire somebody business minded to be like, there's something here. Like I need to be a part of this. And I didn't have obviously that side of things the way you do, but how do you go from promoting Pinnacle to doing your own thing? Like, again, that's a big step.
That was a big step. So, first and foremost, I was confident in doing it. My wife is very important. And if I didn't have her buy-in, like I wasn't doing it.
Right.
So at first I didn't have her buy-in, and then somehow we were on vacation. It was in July of 2017. And I basically like was testing the waters, and I said, I think we can do this.
Yeah.
And the tone changed. And so it was kind of more of like, nice. Okay, like let's explore. And so from that July, I think it was July, until we had a show in April, that was when we bought a cage, like found a cage and bought it. And like Ethan, like a lot of people wonder, like, how did all that go? Like, Ethan Goss helped us find the cage. Like, he knew a guy. We talked to a bunch of people. I talked to a bunch of people. Yeah. At the time, it was just myself.
Right. There was no we.
But I talked to a bunch of people and went down that path of like finding the way, how do we do this? And when I promoted with Matt at Pinnacle, like Matt taught me a lot of stuff. And like the plan was always to like help Pinnacle. Like I never had a plan to like do anything myself. But different people have different ideas and different ways of doing stuff, and it just wasn't going to be a long-term fit, and we both realized that, and like we went our separate ways, and like that's what spurned, brought on starting 247.
Right. Matt, I think Matt's a guy that you talk about to anybody in the space, and everybody knows Matt. Like the roots that he's developed and put into Pittsburgh MMA and Pittsburgh fighting, especially boxing, even more so. Like he's huge.
I think
for the
all
scene.
of it.
Yeah, seriously, all of it. He's involved,
and he's not just like one aspect. He's training. He actually did some fighting.
Exactly.
He's promoting. He's gym owner. He's done everything.
Yeah. He's responsible for a lot of what's happening for sure. And I think he deserves a lot of respect. I still wear my Southside boxing shirt all the time. Obviously, that I kind of do it to jab you a little bit too.
Well, I mean, I don't have, I don't know if he does or not. He's been to shows. He's cornered people. We're not like I don't know that we'll ever be best friends. Right. I don't have any hard feelings towards him. I mean, ultimately, like it doesn't bother me anymore.
Because this is an interesting conversation. Like, you don't always have to be best friends with everybody to get along and coexist. Like, especially in business, it's just not going to happen. Even recently, we just, we'll even peel back the curtain on this a little bit. Like, we just announced that Strip District Meat sponsorship, right? We had Steve Dawson in here with Fat Butcher for a podcast. We're talking to him for a long time. Like, approach them for a sponsorship. They were not in a place to sponsor. And then Strip District Meats came up. Like, Danilo introduced us to Strip District Meats. I was like, well, this is perfect because I always loved Strip District Meats too. But, like, that's the kind of thing. I'll still go buy a smash burger at Fat Butcher. Like, I don't hate them now just because they sponsored it. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. We can all coexist, and it's totally fine. So I think that's how
But there's some people that don't view it that way.
Exactly.
And that's unfortunate to me. And just to be straight up, like there was Nicole Castillo tried to put things in place that would make it hard for us, and literally told me like, "Don't you dare try to do that, or I will destroy you."
Yeah,
and has from that day forward put her foot down and tried to sabotage anything we're doing. Tries to make us be bad guys. Tries to like make an issue of every single thing.
Yeah.
And it used to eat me alive. Like at the beginning,
yeah,
it would eat me alive. I like Kama and I have become genuinely like pretty good friends.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so funny when she tried to make it sound like we were doing something bad against Kama.
That was wild.
Because there was like at no point did Kama not know what was going on.
Exactly.
But she's always tried to plant negative seeds with fighters and coaches, and it's been from day one. And she literally told me she was going to do it. And it was like she did make it hard at first. And now when things like that happen, it's like comical.
We laugh about it.
Yeah.
I think I mean I had the same progression. You know, like when I first started, I was like, I'm going to call Nicole, like I'll resolve this. I know Nicole, I've worked with her. Like this is not a big deal. And she was not having any of the apology tour by any means. She basically said, yeah, I don't associate with it. She first acted like she didn't know I was working for 247 at all, which I've come to find out she generally knows what we're doing, it seems like. And then she was like, yeah, like we're not cool anymore, essentially. I'm like, I guess that's how it is.
And then she vilified you.
For sure.
Just like she did with me.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what she did with that Kama fight. I mean, trying to set up a legit fight with Antonio Castillo and Kama, like that's a huge fight for the region at the time. Like that would have been massive for both guys' careers. It was a rematch that needed to happen.
And Tony wanted it.
Tony wanted it.
Yeah. And she was the one.
And I love Antonio Castillo. I mean, I'll say good things about him. Like that dude takes the toughest fights. When all is said and done, 10 years down the line, I want people to still be talking about him because he's genuinely important for the region and the scene.
Listen, I to be honest, I saw how Nicole was when I worked with her, but I got along with her when we were at Pinnacle together.
Yeah.
And there were no beefs, no issues. It's when I went off and left, and then I contacted her and said, "Hey, I'm starting this up." And
now we get DMs about memes.
Yeah.
You want to talk about memes?
so that was genuinely a huge hurdle to get over at the beginning. Is like we had someone who was influential that was trying to sabotage us and like worked hard at it.
Yeah.
And still tries. It's kind of sad now at times.
Yeah. Like
trying to, what was the meme was the most recent thing, because she blocks us. She blocks anyone that like contradicts her. So like Ethan Goss had like spoke, like she had posted something negative about us. And then Ethan Goss saw it and posted in that post, and she just blocked him. But anyway, that was a while ago. But
That's
the most
hilarious.
recent thing is the meme.
Oh, I love that.
So the whole thing was Netflix had the series about Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
And everyone was doing memes about that show. And Hunter did a meme about that show.
I thought it was good. And that was a high quality meme, in my opinion.
This was like when the show was out. Was it September, October?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
It was right after we launched 247 Live. It was like even topical to having 247 Live now. I was like, dude, this is perfect. Like, this is a meme storm. I love it.
Yeah. So there's all these memes out. Everyone's doing these memes. All business, like everyone's doing these memes. Hunter does one. Well, just like a week or two ago, she must have been like Facebook stalking us, and she says like. Someone sent this to me that was irate.
Yeah. Yeah. Just peeling back to October on our post to randomly find a meme. Sounds like something fighters do in their spare time for sure.
So ultimately, like she's bashing us, saying that we are memorializing or like lifting up a serial killer.
Yeah, making him. Yeah, exactly.
Like we're trying to be Jeffrey Dahmer fans or something.
I mean, I have his glasses, so that's fair. Like you can tell his influence. His influence is strong here for sure. But yeah, I mean, and we only talk about that, A, because it is kind of fun to vent. Cheers, bro. It is fun to vent about it, but B, like, that was a real hurdle. And I've heard it even since I've been involved for like the past year and a half. I've heard ripples of this still with some fighters like, I've heard bad things. Like, I've been told not to fight for you guys. And then I approach them, you know, what have you heard? Tell me more about this. Mm-hmm. And they'll explain it. And it's always super easy to debunk. And one thing that I'm always really proud of that I love, like, this is my favorite thing of being involved, is when a fighter fights for us and then is like, dude, I'm literally not fighting for anybody else unless it's Bellator or the UFC. Like, I didn't realize you guys did things the way you do it. Like, I had kind of heard from some people who like Colin McGoss, and thank you both a lot. Like, having influential pros in the area be on our side is huge, obviously. Like, they've heard people say good things, but until you fight for us, you don't really understand.
Well, I think that she planted this, that there are certain people, even people that like us now, that have like this uneasy, like they think we're really up to no good, or I'm up to no good, or anyone associated with us is up to no good. And
let's be honest, regional combat sports, not just MMA, boxing, whatever, like, it's a shady business for sure. Like, the history of this industry is one of shadiness. Mm-hmm. Like, it's reasonable to be on high alert in this industry.
But if you look at what the truth is and what we've done and how we've behaved and what the actual truth of the matter is, like, we've been nothing but trying to lift up the sport and help everyone. And ultimately, like, it is what it is.
Yeah. But that I was going to say, that can only go so far. So you're getting through this initial hurdle. You know, the joys of launching a promotion in general are difficult. You're getting off the ground. You're having, I think you had 2 shows.
We're in huge debt.
Right.
So
exactly.
To get started.
Yep. That startup cost, you're getting off the ground. You're getting rolling. You got a big show lined up for March 20th, 2020? 19th?
March 14th.
14th.
Yeah.
And what happened on that day, Ryan Middleton?
So, so the debt. Okay, so we racked up a bunch of debt to get the promotion launched, and this Brawl in the Berg 3 was going to be the show that took us out of debt. Like, we were gonna like be in the green now, and that was exciting for me because, you know, until you're like we were profitable, but like not profitable enough in 3 shows
to offset the
startup, right? So super exciting. And then, you know, all this stuff starts happening with COVID and it's scary. And we get to fight week and there's stuff that's like, it's scary. Mm-hmm. And we get to weigh-ins and like everything's still a go. And we're like totally like, let's just get through this day. And Saturday, this is the why I said it's like, I'm being dead serious. This brings back like really difficult emotions and really like this was a bad time. Like this was awful. This was I mean, I went through a death of a child, and this is not to that level, but it's raw. It's emotional. It was bad. Yeah. It was like to the brink of like depression and like all of these things that I've never experienced in my life. Right. Mm-hmm. So the weigh-ins happen, everything goes smooth. The one hiccup we had with weigh-ins was the venue started getting antsy, like with this whole COVID thing that no one knew about. So the venue says to me, what do you think about calling it off? I'm like, no, we're not calling it off. Are you crazy? Like, and I was like, I'm not canceling it. No.
Yeah.
And so then the Saturday morning comes, and that was the weigh-ins were the 13th and the fight was on the 14th. I'm hoping I'm getting these dates right. I think March 14th was the day the world
whatever
shut down,
day
right?
the world shut down is the day your show. Yeah.
So March 14th rolls around and it's morning, and I get a call from Greg Serb, who's the executive director of the Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission. And he says, we are we're not, he basically says we're not allowed to have a crowd.
Yeah.
And so the show's off. And I said, whoa. If we don't have a crowd, can we still have the show? We were set up. It wasn't costing me anything more. So why not have the show? At least
let them fight.
Without the crowd. And he basically said, yes, we can do that. So I'm like, okay, well.
I didn't know this. This is new to me.
I was like, this sucks, but at least we can have the show. He calls me back like 15 minutes later and says, it's off. He says, the governor just shut everything down. Part of me thinks, like looking back, that it was just like I never saw any announcement from the state that day that shut everything down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was them or not, but maybe it was just the State Athletic Commission.
It's hard to say.
Decided, but ultimately we were shut down, and I was like sick as can be, and had to tell everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I immediately. We have we still do it the same way, like have a Facebook group with all the corners in there, and I had to let them know. And like I basically explained, like, this is happening live. I don't have answers. I don't know. So here's the thing, like when you set up for a show, you're putting all these bills on credit cards, and like, so the credit card bills are like the cost of one of our shows is around $50,000.
Yeah, and Capital One doesn't care about COVID.
Yes. At the time, we were probably doing shows at about $35,000 a show, $40,000, somewhere in that range. Not all of those costs are put on credit cards, so maybe $25,000, $20,000 put on a credit card, and then when the money comes in, you pay that off, and then you move on to the next show. Mm-hmm. So when I got the fighters' consignments taken care of, like I have cash that I'm going to pay these credit card bills off with. And so when they were like canceling the show, like I have to refund all of these tickets, and I'm like, I can't do it. Like I don't have that money's spent. Like it's gone.
Doesn't exist.
So I'm like, I need to figure out, like, first of all, like I'm literally canceling 19 million things. That day was absolute, and Jim was AWOL. Jim,
what?
So Jim's the matchmaker.
This is also
I can't get a hold of him. I'm like in this by myself. It was so bad, and so the corners, like this is all like COVID. This is all like unheard of. Like I feel like people thought that I had something to do with like canceling it, which the last thing in the world that I wanted to do was cancel this show. Like
it makes the least sense for you to cancel the show.
I needed nothing more than this show to take place.
Right.
Like from a financial standpoint, from a business standpoint.
On every level.
Every level.
Yeah.
And so, but there were a lot of emotions in the corners. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And I was literally at the venue trying to sort things out, and I'm getting these text messages, these messages from the group, like, we want answers, and like it was, I couldn't even deal with that. And I'm like, I'm literally juggling 9,000 things.
Yeah,
it was absolutely horrible, but we had essentially worked really hard to build up this promotion,
right,
and to do these things, and it all came crashing that day. It was absolute.
Yeah. A couple important notes, I think, on this are that at that time, like, this is an easier conversation in retrospect to, like, decide what you should have been doing. Like, try to remember what that time was like. Nobody knew what to do on any level. Nobody on any level in any industry. Nobody knew how to react. Like, I remember we were getting groceries delivered to our house through Instacart because we didn't want to go to the grocery store. We're like, are we even... Like, is going in public going to kill me right now?
Yeah.
Literally, like, that was the thought process. Do we need to just stay away from everybody? Nobody knew what to do. So when you talk about, like, you having I know now the things that you need to run a show, the amount of things you have to schedule, reschedule, cancel, this and that, insane. And then on top of that, you've got fighters who, to them, the most important thing is getting their friends and family refunded, getting whatever covered that they need, and they think they are the center of that world, and you have to do this for me right now.
Like, immediately.
And
there was no time given.
Right.
Like,
and I'm not even saying that to school. That's how I would have reacted to. That's how everybody was reacting. Mm-hmm. Everybody wanted answers right now, but there were no answers.
I didn't have answers.
Yeah.
I was heartbroken. Like, yeah. And two, the reality is we were done. Like, we couldn't come back from this. So the show that was supposed to take us out of debt put us in greater debt than we've ever had, and we had no way to handle that. Like, there was no financial means to do that. It didn't exist. It was
on Saturday night. Did you think 247 fighting was over?
So I don't know if you know this or not. My whole family, literally, we have a king-size bed in our bedroom, and my wife and I and my kids, all three boys, were all on my bed, like, crying because we were done. There was no way, like, it was so bad.
What were you thinking then? Like, if 247 fighting was done, now there's a lot of debt that still needs paid back, first of all. Were you just thinking, like, I'm getting
file for bankruptcy?
Yeah.
I mean, like, by that time in the day, so this all happens maybe at 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, something like that. I had conversations with a couple different people. I talked to Isaac Greeley. I let him know, like, what happened and that I don't know what I was going to do because, like, I can't afford to refund everyone. Like, there's no possible way to do that. And I'm like, I'm going to have to, like, give out vouchers or something. I don't know. Like, and if we want to still exist, like, I can't refund. I just can't. Like, there's no way to make that work.
Mm-hmm.
And just trying to figure out exactly, like, how this could even work. And that day happened. And then, like, the pro fighters wanted paid,
of course, and I'm like, I'm thinking, like, I don't have money.
Like, there's no money, and so by like 5 o'clock, the heat got so bad that I was just like, I'll worry about this later, and I just refunded everyone and paid everything back, and, like, I have to figure it out later because the heat was it was pretty. Like, I couldn't do it.
And I really can't emphasize this enough, is, like, that was a crazy time. It was a crazy time, and when you revisit it now, it seems easier to manage. But, like, you have to put yourself back in that March 14th, 2020 mentality. And, like, how you react is all valid. There was no wrong way to react to that situation because you heard, like, unprecedented times. It became the crazy buzzword, but it truly was. There was no handbook for how to deal with a pandemic and running a business, like, that aspect of it and how it shut everything down. Nobody knew what to do. Like, that.
I mean, so it was funny, like, the away fighters were more understanding that we don't have control of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was more anger towards us from the hometown guys, and it was difficult. Like, it was just straight up, like, I was kind of upset with how that was all taking place. I wasn't I thought it was very unfair, and, like, all I asked for was some time.
Yeah. And let's be honest, like, we talked about in the beginning, like, you were the new guy in town, and some people wanted a reason to hate you from the jump.
Yep.
And that was a perfect opportunity.
And she jumped on that opportunity.
Of course.
So she rallied people and told people, like, they needed to, like, just give me some time.
Yeah.
That's all I asked.
There's no handbook for handling that. So you're on. That's powerful, by the way, that imagery of being on the bed with your entire family, just breaking down, like, that's...
It was
that's
so
crazy.
bad. I mean, literally, we were all... if you realize how much time, energy, effort we put into something that we're not like even trying to profit from.
Yeah. And also knowing if you've been to a show or been involved with us, how involved your family is with the show. It's not like you go run a show and they stay at home watching Real Housewives.
It's our family.
They're all involved.
Everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we like, all of us sitting on that bed, literally, it wasn't like, it was like me telling them, like, guys, we can't come back from this. Like, if it wasn't for a loan,
that's what I was going to ask. Obviously, you did come back. So, what was how long after Saturday did you decide it wasn't done? It wasn't over.
I mean, my heart was like couldn't accept that.
Yeah. When could your wallet accept that?
That's the big question. So, like, obviously a credit card, like, you don't have to pay it right away. Like, so there was a time period where, we were paying credit card fees and stuff, but we got a loan from, like an EIDL loan that we still owe money on.
Nice.
That it was a $30,000 loan that basically allowed us to not go out of business.
Wow.
And that we would have went out of business if it wasn't for that.
That's amazing. And that also highlights, I think, a lot of people look at regional MMA in general or MMA in general and just think that we're like raking in cash. Like, it's just this super, like, why can't you pay us? Like, why is this? Why can't we get 6 nights of a hotel or whatever? Like, clearly you can afford it. I've been to your shows. They're good crowds. A $30,000 loan saved you. That's, in the grand scheme, that's not a lot of money. You know what I mean? In the grand scheme of business, pretty small loan. So that's what kind of margins regional MMA is talking about.
You can't take a $40,000, $42,000 hit in one day.
Right.
You can't.
Right.
Especially when you're not in the green yet. Like, if we had been a promotion that had been, did that verbally go off?
I heard it. Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be off. Was it on there? Okay. I don't know how to turn that off. I'm sorry, Danny. It was supposed to, what was I saying?
When you weren't in the green yet, you couldn't absorb it.
If you had been if we had been a promotion that had been around 20 years, we could have taken. You don't want to take that hit,
of course,
but you can take a hit like that because you've been around. Like, we're not even we're not even profitable yet. We can't take that hit. Like, it's just not possible.
So you go from bag it up, it's over, it's done, to okay.
I think it was like the next day. Like, we got to figure out how to not do that.
And then you get a loan that enables you to actually carry out that plan, but you're still in the red. Now you have a loan on top of that, big loan, and you have a lot of not so goodwill in the community from how that all went down.
Yeah, that was the hardest part. That was the hardest part for Denise, for my wife.
Yeah,
was the attacks, like the venom. Like, we were literally being vilified for something that we had no control, and people were saying awful, nasty things, and it was really hurtful. And that's the part where, like, I feel bad. Like, I feel bad that my family had to go through that,
right?
And that was mainly my wife. My kids were kind of oblivious to it, but. My wife would see those posts. She would see the emails. She would see the nastiness that this all caused, and was like, "Yeah, I agreed to this in July of 2016. Like, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, this isn't what we
this
said.
Isn't what we're like trying to create, like, this great MMA thing and provide opportunities, and we're just being crapped on." And there was no shortage of people that were willing to take shots at us. It was bad.
Yeah.
And there were people that took shots at us that I've since made amends with, but there were people that took shots at us that, like, we thought we, like, wouldn't do that.
For sure. And my personality is one, like, I don't harbor ill will for anybody. I really don't care. Even, we were talking about Nicole earlier, like, I would get dinner with her. I'm not enemies with her. It's fine. Like, I would
really not get dinner with Nicole.
I know. Like, I don't care. I understand everybody's
for a long time. I would have.
Yeah.
And I was willing to, but it just got past that point.
Yeah. But there still is this feeling, and I know exactly what you're saying because I feel it too. The most docile negative comment gets me a little bit about 247, even if it's valid. It's like I just don't like seeing people talk negatively because I know how hard we work and I know what we're building towards. But that comes with the territory to a degree. But to your point, it was at an all-time high and probably an unfair high at that point.
Oh yeah, it was bad, and it was like, do we want to come back from this? Do we want to try to
that's
rebuild?
What I'm getting at. So what made you push through that then too? Because it's one thing to come back financially and run a show, but especially in a community like Pittsburgh, if they're not on your side, it's not going to work.
Dude, I knew we had something.
Yeah.
I knew we had something.
Yeah.
And I knew that, like, my drive to make Pittsburgh MMA great and to provide opportunity, like, I knew we had something. And I was just determined. Like, part of me was like, it was about me, but like, I wasn't going to let this tear us down.
Yeah.
Like if we were going to fail, it was going to be because of us, not because of outside circumstances.
I mean, it did. Obviously, it wrecked so many businesses. We still see businesses today that aren't what they used to be.
And they're affected.
Exactly.
Like, there's businesses going out of business now because of that.
Yeah, that hung on a little bit, but now it's just too much. So now we're in a place where obviously we're growing. We always talk about 2023, like this is our growth year. We have a lot of big plans happening. Obviously, people paying attention to this April card can see that it's nuts. It's going to be huge for us, but there's a lot in between there, man. How much from the COVID show that shut down? Then you started having shows without crowds.
Well,
what changed there?
Oh, so maybe you don't know this.
I don't.
So things opened back up.
Okay.
In 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And it opened back up like midsummer.
Mm-hmm.
And so we planned a show for October.
Okay.
We planned 2 shows. No, for November. We planned a show for the day before Thanksgiving and the Saturday after Thanksgiving, both in Monroeville, 2 nights. This was going to help us get our feet back under us.
Sure.
Right? This was going to, but the problem with having one show was, one, they were letting like 7 fights or 8 fights on a show.
Mm-hmm.
2, there were some restrictions. There were lots of crowd restrictions too.
Sure.
So we had to space out and do all this stuff and follow a bunch of.
So you had one full card, but you had to split it in 2, basically.
We had a big, we basically said we need to plan 2 shows. The venue was going to let us like have the venue for the cost of one, so we weren't having to pay 2 different shows. Like, it was a way for us to get our feet back under us, or at least try to get partial feet back under us.
And when you think about it, like, the venue had to be hurting too. The state had to be hurting.
Everyone
was hurting. Nobody was winning in this situation.
And I think the venue would couldn't have anyone else in. And no one was having shows, so to have a show where they'll get concessions, they'll get alcohol sales, they'll get some of that was like, yes,
anything.
We'll do whatever you want, whatever you want.
Right.
And so so at that time, 3 weeks before the show, Allegheny County has a no crowds,
oh my God.
So I had paid.
Oh my God. I never knew this.
So I had paid for these shows now and hotel, have all the things that the cost of a show, which, by the way, before coming into this, you always thought, it can't be that much. And then you see all the costs and you're like, this is crazy.
Nuts. Yeah, it is nuts.
So we had the show, we had all these things we paid for. In addition to that, we had to pay for COVID tests, which at the time was like $129 per test that we had to pay for all fighters in all corners. We had like $5,000 in COVID test costs. It was absolutely crazy. So we got to the point where they closed the show off to a crowd, and I'm 3 weeks out, and I just faced a lot of heat And now we're in this position again. And dude, it was so bad.
Dude.
It was like, it was just unbelievable. So I basically said to the fighters, listen.
They did it again.
They did it again. They're cutting off the crowd. I need to know if you guys want to fight or not, because we're not going to have a crowd. We'll do it all on pay-per-view. But when it comes down to it, if you guys aren't in for it, I'm not in for it, because I'm about to spend a bunch more money. I'm willing to do it, but this is a huge loss for us already. I'm going to lose more if we have it. So I need to know that you guys are in and you guys are fighting, and you'll push the pay-per-view and do all that stuff. And they said they still wanted to fight. So we had the show because I didn't want that heat again. Even though we got that heat again from crowds and like people mad, like that we vouchered all of those tickets, because this time we did protect ourselves a little bit and said, if anyone does anything with crowd, your tickets are not going to be refunded. You're going to get vouchers.
Right.
And because
that's what the highest level people were doing at the time too. I remember like you get
concerts,
concerts and things. You would get a voucher. They weren't refunding you. But you can't afford to do it.
You cannot do it if you want. So we not only still had the show and gave them vouchers and let them all watch the pay-per-view for free. Anyone who bought tickets, we gave them the pay-per-view for free.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So we didn't even get like extra money. Everyone benefited because they still got anyway, it was a lot.
How did you not just quit right
I
then
don't
in
know.
November, dude?
I literally, I don't know. It was so bad.
That's crazy.
So it was like, listen, once we got through that, it was like, if we can get through that, guys, there's like, we can get through anything. Let's do that. Like, it was actually motivating to have those back-to-back shows on, we had a double header. So again, we need to find any ways we can to generate more revenue, because we are so far in debt, and still are, but we were so far in debt that like so we had a double show, afternoon, evening double header. There were still a lot of restrictions with crowd size and all that stuff. And then once things got back to normal, it was like, yeah. But the thing was, I was never willing to cut the cost of a show to like try to make up that revenue, because like the most important thing to me is to do things at a high level.
I think your pride with the 247 brand is really understated. I think people who are close to you know it, but I don't think the people at large really understand what that means, because you're not tuned in on that level. Like when you go to a Steelers game, you're not paying attention to the production and the camera angles and things like. You don't care about that. You're there to watch the Steelers play the Ravens or whatever. When you go to our fights, you're there to watch fights. But when you really think about it, and especially if you travel and go to other regional shows, you'll get a sense for what we're talking about. But your attention to detail is nuts. Like I've never experienced anything like it, to be honest. So I think that what you're saying, like I wasn't willing to scale back just because I had to. That's a big reason I think why we are where we are now, because you never took that step back to where now we have to go, 6 steps forward. We're still marching forward the entire time and just gathering debt with us along the way.
Well, we're not gathering debt anymore. We're just we're chipping away
at the time. Yeah. I mean, you could have saved money by saying there's no live stream, the sound, like, whatever it is, we're going to scale back. There's no walkouts. There's no nothing, like get in the cage and fight because I can't afford anything else. But you didn't say that.
Yeah. I mean, part of what I thought was missing from regional MMA is the UFC feel, like the show feel, like, and so I wanted people to feel like they were at a show, and it wasn't just a gym with some fights.
Yep.
And so, even if you watch the video from Steel Town Throwdown, which was the first show when I joined the broadcast crew, Bubba at the time, and Luke, and did a post-fight interview. Even when you look at that, I said, like, I wanted to create, like, I wanted there to be the feel of like a mini UFC and like that,
And it's there for sure. I mean, I'm laughing because when you mentioned Bubba, all I can think of is his call. He put him on his ass or whatever he said. He said something ridiculous.
That was not at that show. That was it. That was
the
it.
next one.
That was it. The Brawl in the Berg.
Yeah, Kama's knockout. Bubba had a hilarious call of that, so that just made me laugh. But that's apparent, and I'll say that's my second favorite compliment. Is besides people, coaches, fighters, especially like blue corners, it means a lot too. When a blue corner is like, we've been all over the place and we would love to come back to you. Like, that's huge. I love that.
Yeah, that is the and part of, so there's some strategy involved with everything we do, and part of bringing you on wasn't just like we just talked with someone earlier, and we were talking about like his media presence and our goal of like becoming more media oriented.
Right.
But also like, so because of those experiences, we had this negative energy pointed towards us. And I knew you were a very likable, like the community at large, liked you. And so when we brought you on, knowing that we needed someone to help us repair the negative feelings that I didn't feel like we deserved.
Yeah.
To kind of mend those, I think that was strategic. You were very liked person. There's no reason to not like you until you became on the promoter side.
Until you meet me in person.
No. There's like that whole oh, they work for a promotion,
100%.
And you face some of that yourself.
Yep, I hear it. I mean, it's my personality too to be able to roll with those kind of punches. Like I said, you can talk shit on me. It's not, you really can't bother me much, but like the positive stuff affects me way more, and I love that. I was actually just listening to James Harrison on Simon Arias's podcast, and he said that Dick LeBeau had a famous saying. And it's probably not Dick LeBeau's, but LeBeau said it a lot. Like, never let the highs get too high and never let the lows be too low. Like, you have to stay in the center.
Keeled.
And for whatever it is, my upbringing, whatever it is, that's just how I am in general. And I'm very thankful for that. But I wanted to point out, like, in this growth period where we're going and these compliments, like, that all feels great. But my second favorite compliment, to get back to the production, is when people say, you guys feel like a mini UFC, man. Like that, dude, that's the coolest. When guys have gone to regional promotions and they're like, nobody but you does it like this regionally. I'm like, you're damn right, brother.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I really genuinely feel like we can compete with anyone dollar for dollar on any aspect of MMA outside of Bellator and UFC.
Right.
I don't think there's anyone in the United States that does a better job than us at a lot of the things we do. Even I would say, I think LFA and CFFC and like all the people that are on Fight Pass do a great job with production. And I would say they do like better than us.
Yeah. For sure. That's totally fair to say.
But we do more with less, is what I'm
100%.
And I would venture to say, if we had Fight Pass money, that we would surpass them.
Yep. Totally agree.
But we don't have Fight Pass money. And the reason we don't is because we're trying to build up this area so that there are more pros that are worthy of being, featured.
Right.
And once that happens, I feel like the sky's the limit. I don't even know if we need Fight Pass at that point.
I don't think so.
I think we can build something on our own platform that builds us up. Now, granted, we're going to always look at our options, right?
Of course.
But, Fight Pass wants 5-10 years being in business before, and we don't got that kind of time. Let's do this.
We're doing it right now.
Do it now.
I mean, we have 247 Live now. It's our Fight Pass. The other side of that is like Fight Pass owns the footage. Fight Pass control. Like, they can market it however they want. They can post it however we want. The way we've elected, we control everything, which can be good or bad. But in our case, when we are attentive, when we care, when there's passion, when we surround ourselves with the right team, it's a recipe for big success, I think, and we're seeing that for sure already. And dude, I keep saying it, and it's really not a plug, but the April card is really a showcase of that.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I just think that from a promoter's perspective, not everyone thinks like a promoter, so I have to like preface this with that. When you put cards together and you have cards like every 2 months or so, there's not enough guys that sell a lot of tickets to put them all on one card. You're kind of like, or there's kind of spaced out with like, oh, this guy sells a lot and this guy sells a lot, but they're on different time.
Yep.
Like, we have a lot of guys that sell tickets all on one card that are, big ticket sellers. And that's going to translate to an atmosphere that I don't think we've seen. I honestly...
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So just to put it in perspective, when we track everything, when we start tracking online ticket sales, it's at the 35-day mark. 35 days before a show is when we really start to track day by day.
Yep.
Normally, at the 35-day mark, the tickets we sell prior to that, we are still like 55 days out from a show, from that April show. And we are like 7 or 8 times higher at this point than we ever have been in ticket sales online. Because people don't buy tickets online for regional shows until like a couple weeks out.
Yep.
And then the last week is like crazy. Right now,
it's nuts, man.
There might not be a last week.
Seriously,
that's
not
really encouraging. And there's a kid on this card, Victor Lipari, who has just like, he's probably going to break. I mean, he's going to break the single most tickets that anyone's ever sold for a show within the next day or two.
Yep. What he's done is incredible. He's a local kid from Houston, PA, obviously, like right beside the Meadows, and his just all-out blitz on ticket sales has been nuts. But to your point, it's not just him. That's what's made this one so insane, is that like some shows where it's like Comma, Comma sells a lot. That's not going to surprise anybody. But if Comma carries it, or like Jake Lowry carries it, but then like there's a bit of a drop off after that. There's dudes right on Lipari's tail too on this one.
So a lot of times, we could have, Comma carry the card, or Justin Patton carry a card, or Ethan we have Victor Lipari. He could carry the card. We have Miguel Francisco. He could carry the card. We have Justin Patton.
Yeah.
He could carry the card. We have Lee, who could legit carry the card. Now, there was a time where you had guys like Mark Cherico who would literally sell a ton of tickets. Dominic Mazzata, who would sell a ton. We're talking numbers that almost double our record, right?
Right.
But we don't have those guys anymore, and like our scale is different than it was back then. But we have a lot of other guys that are selling more than
Yeah.
I think overall, and I think we sell tickets by ourselves more than it used to be, or more than average.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like the online sales versus consignments, we're close now. I mean, traditionally it's consignments. That's how regional MMA stays in business. But our online sales are good. Like we do a good job on our own of just getting people interested and talk to people all the time. When we get orders, we can see their address and everything as part of the data that we collect when you check out. And if somebody's really far away and doesn't choose a fighter, I'll email them. Like I'll reach out and be like, how'd you hear about us? Like what brings you to Pittsburgh for the show? And a lot of times they're like, I love MMA and you guys like have a good online presence and it looks like a good card. I just want to come to a show. That's cool, man. Like that's awesome. What we need. Yeah, for sure.
I always wonder, how did we reach that person?
Yeah, like how did you hear about
how do we do that more?
Right.
Tell your friends.
Seriously, let's have some more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the card is just sick, but I think there was even a period, just to skip back to the history of 247, you have the double header with no crowd, or at least a limited crowd.
I think that was 6 and 7.
And then I remember because 8 was the first one I was involved with, where I was still doing like social media and doing backstage videos.
That was at Monroeville.
Yeah, that card was huge.
That Lowry?
That was Lowry, Masick. It was a huge card.
Yep.
Was that the turning? Because for me, that was just my first experience. But was that the turning point of like officially getting out of the COVID funk?
Yeah, that was I think that was the first show that was like no more restrictions.
Yeah.
Because I think we were in Johnstown not long after that.
Same month. It was August to like 7th and 21st or something.
Yeah. So yeah, the restrictions were lifted, and that was like the return of like shows that can be profitable with like one show.
And that Johnstown card was big too.
Yeah, I mean we did good there. Yeah. That's what made us think that we could do good there again.
We did good there once.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know that we did good. I thought it was good for a first show there.
In a smaller marketplace, for sure.
The problem is there aren't any fighters other than Joe from Johnstown, and like we just didn't have enough that we could count on guys to be on the card and sell tickets.
Sure.
That was a great card though. The second Johnstown card was the Visoki knockout. It was the Albright,
dude. Yeah, that Albright
Flannery versus Sheldon was
Flannery and Sheldon,
dude.
There were literally the two top knockout of the year contenders, plus a fight of the year contender, were all on that card. Plus Elijah Davis and Joe LaRocco, which was one of the best fights I've seen. Like, yeah, dude, there were insane amount of fights. Are we beer running?
No.
Okay.
I was gonna. I drank that and this, and now
you got a PP?
Yeah, you're gonna have to carry this.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to carry this with Danny Palm. Here's what I'm gonna do, Danny Palm, for the good viewers at home. I'm gonna kick it to the Palm mic, and I'm gonna give you this insanely hard question to answer. April 15th at the Hollywood Casino at the Meadows, we have a fight card, as we just said, that's totally stacked. Which fight does Danny Palm have circled as the can't miss attraction? I know you can't pick just one, so I'll help. Viewers who are listening, Danny Palm loves them all. This is not a slight to whoever he doesn't pick, but I am specifically asking him to pick one, and I know this is difficult.
Like which one I'm looking forward to the most?
Exactly. Not even on a prestige level or whatever. Just as a matchup, which matchup has you the most excited?
So the title fight with Miguel and Chris Inieri, I think that one's going to be an awesome fight. Miguel is a stud, and Chris is also a stud, 6-0. Like that, on paper, like that's an awesome fight in my opinion.
Chris, Mr. Freeze, his gym is extremely good. South Jersey, BJJ. We saw Michael McCaffrey came into Monroeville and actually beat Elijah Davis back at B13, maybe? 13? 11? 13?
13.
Yeah, 13. So I was impressed with McCaffrey right off the bat and his team. They were super professional. And actually, McCaffrey hooked us up with Inieri because we reached out to McCaffrey for a different fight. I'm not sure who it was actually, but McCaffrey said he was fighting, but he's like, McCaffrey had a fight in March. He's like, but my teammate is 6-0. He's a bantamweight, and nobody will fight him. He's like, everybody just keeps turning him down. Like, we can't find him a fight. Meanwhile, we were looking for Miguel, a fight for Miguel, a title fight. We knew it. We wanted it. Miguel Francisco title fight in his hometown, Washington, like on that card. And I'm like, we got the guy for you. Like, you say you have a 6-0 that nobody will fight. We have Miguel's 4-2, but will fight anybody and is ready for that test. So that worked out perfectly.
And if I remember correctly, Chris was actually in McCaffrey's corner.
He was. And funny enough, I didn't know that until I watched MMA Fan. Oh, nice.
I don't know which one you want.
Nah, it's cool. I'm not that picky, bruh. But yeah,
this is actually good.
It's really good. I didn't remember Chris from the event necessarily, but that's really cool that he was there. With Blue Corners, if I've never met you before, and especially if you're not the head coach, like you're the secondary coach,
you're too good for him.
I'm really sorry if I don't remember your name. I will remember your face though, for sure.
He's too good for you when it comes to that.
Totally too good.
He's too big.
Dude, it's crazy. I used to make fun of you for forgetting people's names, but I get it a little
bit.
Keep going. Now. I get it a little bit now because I'm big on remembering names. That's always something that my dad taught me growing up. You know, that's one of the things that you got to do just to be a good human. always remember people's names, always give a good handshake.
It matters.
Yeah, so I've always been big on that. And in this space, man, there's been a few times where I've done the "what's up, man?" And then I hope throughout the conversation that I can remember. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the longer you do it, the more it's going to happen. It's just the reality.
It really is.
And as you get older, like, the brain just doesn't pull stuff up. Like, the file cabinets are like, it's more scattered. It's like
scary.
I always think of as you get older, I don't know if you're old enough to remember a card catalog. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say a card catalog?
A card catalog?
Hey, yeah. In a library,
okay,
you used to pull out a card, and
I got you now.
Go through files, basically tell you where to find this book.
Right, I got you now.
And so I always think of as you get older, it's a card catalog, but it loses its order more every year.
Oh, okay.
So it's scrambled up more, and you have it, but it's
just finding it is going to be a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. But yeah, I mean, I think we were talking about how cool that is when a blue corner, comes in and is like, I would love to fight for you guys again. It is a cool feeling, and remembering their names for me is not just the business move, but we want to form real relationships with you guys. So when Jalen McIntyre comes in and his dad Rob is there, I want to remember Rob is your dad, he's your coach, and he likes us. I want
just
that.
Guys like Kenyon Moore, and there's a whole list of guys, even from the early days of Dustin Parrish, guys that
throwback
were genuinely. They're still in touch with us, even though they probably never, Dustin Parrish will probably never fight for us again. Maybe I would love him to, but we have to have the right matchup for that to happen. We have to have the right pro with the right weight, and that may never happen. But he's always a friend of ours, because he's a part of what made us where we are, and he likes what we like. That was our first show, and he was like, "Wow, you guys like." And that's cool.
That is really cool.
But the blue corners are we've been blessed with guys that come in here and put on great shows and understand what we're doing here, and realize they look around and they're like, dude, what you guys are doing is cool.
Yeah. You know my favorite blue corner of all time?
No.
Mike Wilkins.
Dude, that's a good story.
We were just talking to Mike. This is kind of an inside joke, but it's hilarious. We were just talking to Mike at Cage Thunder over the weekend in Ohio backstage, and we were talking about, I don't even remember what brought it up, to be honest, but there was a card.
I was apologizing to him. I said, sometimes we have to put you in the blue corner.
Right. And there was a card where, for whatever reason, Stouts fighters had to be in the blue corner. So for people listening who aren't familiar, at a regional show, at the UFC, it's not as evident. But at a regional show, the red corner are the local guys, and the blue corner typically are guys that you're bringing in from out of state, out of city, whatever, to fight them. So to put Stout in the blue corner that one time, I had to message Wilkins and be like, hey, I just didn't want any hard feelings. I didn't want him to think that we were making them the B side or something like that. Wilkins, of course, was real cool about it. Never didn't go farther than that until this weekend.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, cool. Until this weekend, he was like, dude, when you said that, meanwhile, keep in mind, Mike Wilkins is a 12-fight professional veteran. He's been in around the game. Yeah.
Been in CFFC.
Yeah, he's been in and around the game his entire life. He's honestly, when you told me that, man, I never knew that was a thing. I never knew red was local and blue was out of town. I'm like, dude, are you serious right now? So your whole career, when you were red corner, your entire career fighting in and around Pittsburgh, you just thought that was coincidence? He's like, yeah, I thought that was just random. I just kept getting red. I'm like, oh man, I'm red again, I guess. He really just thought that was randomly assigned.
Well, and the funny thing is, we send the corners we make a Facebook group.
Yeah.
With each show, we have a Facebook group of blue and red, and
yeah.
I don't know. That's
you just never put the pieces together.
But I did feel bad because I didn't wear my Mike Wilkins shirt to Cage Thunder.
Which you wore an Academy.
I was wearing an Academy shirt.
That's good. We bumped into Paul Dotson, so that was good.
Yeah.
It was good that you had the Academy.
Oh,
shirt.
He even mentioned it. Yeah,
dude. he gets taller every time we see him.
He's literally like the guy that doesn't stop growing.
He's like 6'8" right now.
Well, the thing is, he's like 15 now.
I know.
He's like so young. He's like what, 19?
Yeah, I think he is 19. That's crazy. He's doing good things, man, with the Marines and sniper school. I believe he's starting. He was asking about getting a fight in April, actually, too. Still at 185, despite getting taller. He's still 185. So
he's like, I'm 7'6", 185.
Seriously. I mean, I'm pretty tall. I'm like 6'3", and he's got me for sure. When I'm near him, I'm like, dude, you're tall. You're tall as shit.
Well, we ran into some cool other people like Jamar Moore.
Yeah, that was cool. Especially for you. That's a real full circle.
Yeah. That's a throwback, because when I told you earlier in the podcast that one of the first shows, I think it was the first show we covered as Octagon 24/7. We went to Caged Madness, and Jamar Moore was one of the fighters on it. And we went backstage, and he was one of our 2 interviews that we picked to interview post-fight. And we went back during like the next fight and interviewed him, and he talked about the fight, and then we posted it on YouTube and all that stuff. It's still on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But like hadn't really had much interaction with him since. And the dude grew so much hair. Like I didn't even recognize him, but I did like see a guy, and I'm like, how do I know him?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then they announced him.
There's your card catalog open, and it was shuffling.
That card. Well, I think I'm chalking it up to the hair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blaming that. That's what I'm going with. But he was when I originally met him, he was like, his hair was like real tight, like real short, and then his hair was like super like
crazy.
I don't think he's cut his hair since
probably not.
I met him that day, because he had like crazy long dreadlocks.
He is also a massive lightweight, by the way, and I told him that in prayer. I'm like, dude, how do you make 155? He's 6'1", I bet.
He might be even taller.
He might be, yeah. He's tall. And
he's a really tall lightweight. Hey, good dude. Was super happy to, and part of me, like the nostalgia, like the that was like fond memories of like when we first started to hit the regional MMA scene, and so I always hold a special place in my heart for him, and there's the
Miles Robinson.
Miles Robinson. See, you're young. You got
my card catalog's oiled, so
yeah. Even though you don't know what the card catalog
I didn't know
is.
what that was.
Miles Robinson. Those were the 2 post-fight interviews of Jamar Moore and Miles Robinson for Cage Madness back in the day.
That's awesome.
So seeing him there and like talking to him and realizing that he like. I said to him, I don't know if you know me or like remember. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, yes, I've been following you guys. Like you, and I was like,
cool,
oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
On the way home, I said to Hunter, I was like, that meant a lot that he like
kept up. He knew about the podcast and everything. Yeah. That was
because
cool.
I hit him up a couple times early on to see if it might be a fit for a matchup. And we never really got traction. So I didn't even know if he realized, these were the guys that gave him his first interview.
That's so cool. But it is definitely a full circle moment. And that's one thing that I'll always say is so special about regional MMA are those relationships. And we talk about like how important that is. But I have the same feelings whenever it's like we talk about the early days of like Pinnacle and me as a reporter. And I was covering Cherico fights and Mike Wilkins fights and things like that. And then it comes around now and like Wilkins is on the podcast or I'm talking to Wilkins about a matchup for his fighters. Like it's really cool to me that in Pittsburgh specifically, and I'm only saying this because I'm in Pittsburgh, maybe this happens in other cities, but we see the turnover of these guys go from fighter to coach, but they're always involved. Like if you go to a show, you can count on Isaac Greeley being there. The one time Isaac Greeley wasn't at a show, it was the weirdest feeling ever because he had a wedding or something. But it's like, this core group of people who made it what it is and are still around, like, man, it's so awesome.
And that's a tough transition. Like,
seriously.
Going from a coach to a fighter to a coach is very difficult. And there's a lot of emotion and a lot of, like, it's just a big change and it's a different, like, thing. And that's hard.
Yeah.
And the only guys that do it successfully are very strong, like that takes a lot because it's difficult. And there's some people that could do that they're just like, I have no interest in doing that. And, you know, but my brother-in-law's trying to harass me, I bet.
What else is new? Come on, Brian. B-Rye. Dude, Brian's the man. Brian's part of our cage crew, by the way. When we talk about 247, we paint that imagery of Ryan, you know, in the bed with his family when he thought things were going south. You just mentioned your brother-in-law. Like, he's an integral part of what we do as well. Setting up the cage crew.
Brian and Josh and Jesse, like, those guys have been with us from day one.
Crazy, dude.
And we've just, like, we've built this, I think, family atmosphere that, you know, we have this crew that does great things, and everyone's a part of it. It's not like 247 is Hunter or 247 is Ryan or Ryan and Hunter and Jim. Like, it's all of us.
Yeah.
Like, we have a bunch of people, and 247 is the gyms in Pittsburgh, and 247 is the coaches in Pittsburgh, and like we don't ever want to. So one of the things that I dislike the most about like the regional MMA scene is like coaches or like a lot of promoters and a lot of matchmakers will like put pressure on people to only fight for them.
Weird.
And while I like it that someone only wants to fight for us,
of course,
I'm also like, if you have an opportunity that you think is your best opportunity and we don't have a fight for you, like, go take it. Like, go. Like, do great things.
Bizarre.
Like, but I don't understand it. It's not good. If you are a fighter that feels pressure to only fight for one organization or one person or one, like, it doesn't make it should be what's in your best interest.
Yeah, unless you're on a 5-fight UFC contract, then yes, only fight for the UFC in that case.
Yeah.
But unless that's the case, that you can go wherever is best for you.
Yeah. Like, if you feel like we present you with the best opportunities, then great. Like, fight for only us. Like, Edwin always tells me, like, I don't want to fight for anyone else. Like, I love Edwin Vera. He's like my little brother.
Yeah.
Like, I would literally fall on a sword for Edwin Vera as long as, like, I mean, I might not be able to breathe around him because there's the Edwin waffle that we're talking about.
Nice.
Everyone that knows Edwin well knows what I'm talking about. But I love Edwin Vera. He's 247 through and through. You know, there's lots of guys that are like that'll fall on a sword for us, we'll fall on a sword for them. Like, but that's not what we're requiring out of guys. We're not like saying like, Edwin, don't you dare fight for anyone else. As a matter of fact, we'll help you find fights if it makes like if we're not able to offer you a fight. Like, I don't know. There's just that's just bad for the sport. It's bad for everything.
It's been my thing as well, and I've always felt this way. So it was always weird whenever I saw the pushback on it from some people, like you're saying, the people who try to tie it into that. But like the idea of when one of us wins, we can all win has always been crystal clear to me. So coming into a space where that isn't crystal clear to everybody has been one of my major hurdles. Is like, why aren't we rooting for each other? Like, we went to that Cage Thunder show and purchased tickets. We weren't like, let us in for free. We're 247. Let us come to the show. Like, we want to support the local scene. When everybody is doing well, I promise it helps all of us.
Although I will tell you, I wanted to pull the, hey, can you do something for us card when we were waiting outside
that was
for 45 minutes to get in during the show.
Yeah, that was not ideal, but good kudos to them for having a huge card and a huge line, huge crowd.
They had a great crowd.
Yeah.
Oh, that atmosphere.
Dude.
I told you when we walked out, I was completely like, I did not expect to see the environment I saw. It was electric in there. It was really a good crowd.
I tell lots of people, man, and people think I'm just like, what's the word? Like fanboying for 247 or whatever, like pretending. But I like regional MMA better than UFC. Like, I've been to the biggest. I've been to Conor versus Khabib. I've been to Bellator NYC. I've seen the best from the best.
There's a level of care.
Something about regional MMA, dude.
No, I know what it is. There's a level of passion and care that you can't, like, of knowing that person, like, of knowing, like, there's a level of that you see that you aren't going to get at UFC. But maybe you're next to a fighter's wife or something like that. That's when you'll see it. But unless that's the case, there's just a difference.
Yep.
Now, the exception to that is if you go to a Conor McGregor fight, it's pretty crazy.
Oh, it's nuts.
Everyone feels like they know Conor.
Dude, 205 after he beat Eddie to become champ.
It was not outside. I was there.
Dude,
yeah, it was crazy.
We had a video on FlowCon. We sent our video guy. We're like, screw the press conference. Go outside and just film the crowd. Like, just go be in that crowd and get that. And that's what he did. And the video blew up. Like, dude, it was madness out there.
It was
like happy madness. You weren't like afraid that you were going to die.
Yeah, no one was attacking anyone, but it was at the same time, like, there were a bunch of crazy.
It was nuts.
Yeah, it was fun. It was nuts. And yeah,
think like.
So here, I got a good story I don't know if you know this story. When we were covering, we were doing the Octagon 24/7 MMA Fancast thing. We went to UFC 205, and we covered it like without press credentials, but we covered it and we had tickets and stuff. So we are
real quick. Could you go to media day though?
No, we weren't anything to do with.
Sometimes the UFC would credential you, like come to the press conferences, but you can't come to the event.
They did that for other events, but this was UFC 205. They were we weren't on their radar. But we go to leave our hotel, and we're like maybe 2 blocks away, and I think we had to run back up in the elevator and then come back down. And we were coming back down, and like someone else was on the elevator. And the woman had like a wine glass, and the guy was like older, but put together and like dressed nice. And we got in the elevator, and we were talking. I don't know how we got to talking to them, and he's like, and she was like, "Oh yeah, this is Conor's dad." It was legit Conor McGregor's dad we were in the elevator with, and his like girlfriend or whoever.
Unreal.
But like then we were like, dude, we're staying in the same hotel. Like we're pimps. We're a pimp.
That's living.
Like
you probably never beat that.
Yeah, that was cool.
That is awesome.
So
nice.
Yeah, Conor McGregor's dad in the elevator. Remember us. 247.
Come support us, Conor's father.
Conor's daddy.
I was just thinking when we were talking about how crazy it was outside, just the pure pandemonium, the Irish crowd. And I'm sure not all of them came from Ireland, but I bet some of them did. And it's hilarious to think like people flew from Ireland to watch Conor McGregor fight. And we can't get dudes to drive from New Kensington to Washington sometimes.
Are we sure that these aren't just guys that like celebrate St. Patty's Day here in the United States every day?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they just Irish for the day.
Yeah,
that's fair. But yeah, there's
levels. I think there are some.
Yeah.
And there might even be some that like throw off an Irish accent like that have never lived there.
Yeah.
But
that's fair.
What do you think, Danny? Danny Palm.
What's Danny Palm's take?
I don't know. I think probably majority of them aren't from Ireland.
That's what I think too.
Fair.
I'm going with Danny Palm.
Okay, I'm going to believe that they're from Ireland, that they're just that
okay. You're
dedicated.
Going the other way
For sure.
They're all Irish.
That.
If they had a flag and they're celebrating around it, they're Irish.
Yep.
Nice.
Would you hold another flag besides the United States flag? If you were just celebrating, if you were somewhere and a British guy won something, Leon Edwards knocks out Kamaru, would you hold up a Great Britain flag?
There's literally no way that ever happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're actually Irish. You would never hold a flag if it wasn't yours.
I agree. I'm not saying the
unless
holding
you're drunk.
Just because you're holding it, like there's all the other people around you, and like none of them have to be. Just the guy holding it.
Fair. That's very fair.
And if you're a super fan, like if you're McGregor, I say McGregor because that's McGregor.
That's the guy.
No, but who's McGregor?
What?
The guy, Craig Perry.
Oh, Craig Perry. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
I thought you knew what I was talking about.
No.
See, he might.
Yeah.
Like we have to ask. That's the question.
Okay.
Well, would Craig Perry go to a?
Dude, he loves Conor McGregor so much.
Would he go to a McGregor fight? Would he take an Irish flag with him? That's the question.
Craig, if you're watching, we'll text you this clip regardless. But that's a great question. I thought you were talking about Michael McCaffrey for a second because he reminded me of McGregor, like the aura, the persona, like let's get them. He accepted hostile territory and played into it.
Well, I think
it was awesome.
It's so advantageous to don't try to be Rocky. Because Rocky didn't try to do that, right?
Right.
That just happened.
Right.
Try to be, be the villain. Be okay with being the villain.
It's so fun. I mean, when I think about like my most memorable regional MMA moments, and maybe not even part of 247, but there was a time in Morgantown. I may have told this story to you before, or to the podcast even. We're by the way, we're like 82 or 3 episodes deep on this thing, dude.
Really?
That's crazy. That is crazy.
So does that mean you're doing more than one a week?
Yeah, I mean on fight week we've done like 4. Like there's some weeks that just we double, triple up. But I was in Morgantown and Cherico was fighting somebody in Morgantown from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is like, WVU and Pitt hate each other. And this was peak. Like WVU was good at football at the time.
When?
Exactly.
When Jermaine was there?
Yeah.
No,
probably
they weren't good then.
2008 to 13.
No, he was there before.
Dude,
that. He's old. Jermaine's old.
Is he that old?
I mean, he's in the upper 30s.
Dang. Okay. Yeah. So that was before that. But anyway, like the tail end of Pat White into like Geno Smith, Tavon Austin, those teams, like those were legit ass teams. So there was like an actual legit ass teams, dude. Like an actual WVU Pitt rivalry. So Cherico comes out in Morgantown from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the pride of Bloomfield, Mark Cherico. And dude, he has these goofy ass, dumb sunglasses.
I've seen pictures. And I wondered what that was all about.
He was the most hateable human being on earth that night.
Dude, that is so beautiful.
And then he chokes the dude out, rear naked Cherico, as he was doing to everybody at the time. Chokes the dude out, jumps up on the cage, and just starts talking shit to the crowd, dude. Everybody.
That is so good.
It was the best ever. Like, everybody hated him, man.
Is that on video?
It has to be somewhere.
Like, we have to find that.
Yeah, let me see.
That could be our, like, here's how you do it. Like, we could send this to all Blue Corners and Mike Wilkins.
Nice throwback.
We could send that to all Blue Corners and be like, if you really want to be invited back, do stuff like this, dude. I hear like the Cherico stories, the legend of Cherico. He was so good,
dude. He was
like he was really so good. Like he was a great fighter. He was a promoter. He promoted himself. He built his brand.
He got it on every level, man.
And he just played the role. Like, dude, I wish everyone did that.
Yep. I found the card. So, dude, this is a great card, by the way.
Dude, there were so many great pinnacle cards. Like, there were so many.
It wasn't. It was NAAFS.
Okay.
Caged Fury 17. It was Cherico's pro debut. Choked out Dante Adams in the first round in 56 seconds. So he came in to Morgantown. It was in Morgantown.
Came in, got the rear naked Cherico, and
done.
And then talk smack.
And then talked mad smack.
That's the goal. Let's find that video, and that'll be a training tool for like how to make yourself the most marketable Blue Corner ever.
This whole card.
If Kenyon Moore, listen. If Kenyon Moore decided to be the villain, dude, that would make him so much better. Like, just be the villain when you're out of town. When you're in town, be the good guy.
Let's take this a step farther. Even Kenyon Moore. Let's think about it. He fought for us, and what I remember, I even told him at weigh-ins, I'm like, dude, best dressed fighter we've ever had here. Like, he has a look. He's got that. That's part of it. You have to have a look. Like, part of your brand has to be a look if you're a fighter. He's got the look. He's got the team. He's got Glover to share. Tell me Glover doesn't go on his Instagram and like give Kenyon a little shine. Like, he's got that extra boost essentially available to him with Glover Teixeira and that whole team. Dude, it's like teed up for Kenyon to do that.
Mm-hmm.
He could totally do it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys.
And he's skillful. Obviously, he's skillful too. Like, that's very important.
So since you've been here, since you've been at 247, can you think of fighters who played the heel role well?
Like only McCaffrey. I'm serious. Like that's the only one that comes to mind. Dude, who like embraced it and was like happy to be hated.
Play the heel role. There's nothing wrong. Like, listen, people are going to like cheer for the other guy, and they're rooting for you to lose.
Right.
So come in and accept that. And have fun with it.
I'll give you one. I just thought of another one.
Okay.
He may be the best at it, but also from the area originally. But DeWitt Dixon, when he beat Cole.
Oh, yeah. DeWitt Dixon.
When he beat Cole, he was like, if that's the Prince of Pittsburgh, then I'm the motherfucking king. I was like, dude, that was awesome. Come on.
Yeah, dude.
Great line.
So DeWitt Dixon is on like I'm a big DeWitt Dixon lover.
Dude,
like,
he's so fun.
He is he's like the best blue corner ever because he's not. Like
he's from here originally. Yeah.
But he also like he's a character.
Yeah.
And he's funny and he says stuff to like and some of the things he says like you're like is he real? Is he pretend? Is he playing? Like what? Like he'll say like like my team and I were figuring out a way to like set 2-year like plan of getting down to 145, and you're like stop. You're 185 and you look huge.
Yeah, Stop.
And he'll say it like
dead serious,
where you don't know if he's being 100% serious or 100% trolling you.
I know.
And he is very skilled at that.
Yeah, he's very, very good at that. So DeWitt, Michael McCaffrey, I really can't think of a third one though. You don't see it often. You don't see the
If I remember, Tobias was a little bit of a heel. Tobias Taylor
wore a Browns jersey out to the cage.
Okay,
if I remember,
I don't think most people.
He was talking smack to the crowd too when he came into the cage.
Okay, all right.
Okay, nice.
I that's a good one.
That I appreciate. I don't see all that stuff all the time.
I mean, Ethan sells a lot of tickets too. Kudos to him because he's not really in Pittsburgh. But a slight problem with that may have been more effective if he was like fighting Patton. You know, if he was fighting a real Pittsburgh kid. But like, yeah, like the Cherico going into Morgantown, Pitt versus Morgantown, Pittsburgh, just obliterating and then just talking shit. And plus, like, you talk about the look. Like Cherico he wanted you to hate him with his look. Like it was great.
Dude, I think about that and I just like, that's a promoter's dream.
It was so good. There has to be video
Can
of that.
I get a guy like that? Like just take that heel roll and run with it and make everyone boo you so loud. Like,
it was
that's awesome.
Yeah, I would love to see that. So that's a challenge. There you go. Brawl in the Berg 16 on April 15th. If you're listening and you're a blue corner, be the heel for us.
I will love. You will always be invited back. Now,
don't take it too far. There's a line too of being like just blatantly disrespectful and starting riots.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah. But fall just short of that.
Be fun.
Yeah.
Talk to Mark Cherico.
Embrace the role and have fun with it. That'd be awesome. I would totally like. Yeah, make yourself marketable. Like, guys, half of this game is not fighting. Like half is fighting, the other half is not fighting. So all those things that are not fighting, you have to worry about. If you think it's all about fighting, you're not gonna your career, no matter how good you are, will end before it could if you worried about the other half.
Facts, straight facts.
Boom.
And this is coming. Nice. This is coming from a man who has seen it all almost end several times. Like in this industry, you've seen it come to a close several times. You've persevered. So just to tie a bow on that whole conversation, it's awesome to see where we are today. I appreciate you keeping me being a part of it, even though you've been trying to fire me for the past like year or so.
More than that.
It's fine. Like
it's been
I'm glad I'm here.
14.4 months.
To the day. Know exactly how many days I've been here.
I know what day I started trying to fire you. You will not go away.
Yep.
You're like COVID.
I am like COVID. But dude, seriously, like what we're building, it feels really special right now. And this is like the 8th time I've said it on this podcast. But like this April card is going to be a showcase of that. But it's not like we're stopping there.
Let me. You just said the key word. We're not stopping there. Listen, we have really special things that we're working on all the time. Some of them work out, some of them don't. But we are not slowing down, and we are on the brink of things that are like could be monumental. Like there are things that are being put in place that if they work out are complete game changers. And I hope they do work out, but we're also not going to put ourselves in a position to fail. So if it doesn't make sense, like if we can't find a way to have it make sense, then it won't happen. We were on the brink. Hey, if you're watching right now, we got really close to having a show in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
There were some things that got in the way of that didn't make sense for us.
Yep.
It made it so we might not be profitable. Like we had to have a sellout to be like those things we're going to walk away from. Until that gets situated, which we're still going to work on. But there are things that were happening that made it so it wasn't going to make sense. We're working on a bunch of other things that we're hoping that are going to be complete game changers for Pittsburgh MMA, Pittsburgh Combat Sports, and Steeler tailgating forever.
Yes. It's only fitting that on an episode that we talk so much about COVID and those unprecedented times that we finish with something for us
uplifting
that would be unprecedented for regional MMA.
Positive,
but not like positive for COVID.
Hold on, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you remember the positivity?
Yeah.
Like we
Smug Mug folder.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something. So this, funny enough, shout out James Lynch. This is going to be a James Lynch story. Do you know James?
Oh, I know James Lynch. Yeah.
Very popular, one of the best MMA journalists out there. Really heavy video content. He's the man. I love James.
Interviewer of the decade.
He's amazing. He did a lot for us at Flow Combat and just in general. But he told me one time, and I think this is something that he's told to the public as well, but I'll never forget the first time he told me just publicly, like, he keeps a folder of positive comments and positive feedback on his videos, positive tweets, just nice things people say about him. And he's like, in this industry, like, it'll wear you down. The haters will wear you down. He's like, when I get somebody comes in and says, whatever, that was a stupid question, why would you even ask him that? He's like, and it bothers me, I just go straight to that positivity folder. He's like, I need to cleanse it. It's my bleach. It's like I keep all these good comments there. So James Lynch was the first guy I heard that from. And then you made it. It was kind of funny.
So do you this is like going back to the bad times, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember what the incident was that we were like, bro? Do you remember what happened? I don't either.
Which
that's
is good.
Insignificant. Yeah.
So I was just going to say, it's probably a good thing. Like, that's how well that we brushed it off. We don't even remember what it was.
When you have haters, like, you're doing something right.
What was the...
Do we hate on anyone? Like, that's the thing. We don't, like...
I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember.
We want to build things. We don't want to destroy things. We don't care what other people are doing. If they're not our friend, we ignore them. Yep. Like, if they're not our enemy, we don't ignore them. Like, we don't really, like, I'll go to any show and have a good time and, like, enjoy local MMA. Like, why? I don't know. I just don't understand.
It's weird.
I just don't get it.
I forgot, like, until we went to Cage Thunder, I forgot how much I enjoyed that. Going as a spectator on, like, it really is the best. I'm a huge Steelers fan. You know this. Like, my whole life, I'm addicted to the Steelers. I would rather go to Cage Thunder than a Steelers game. Dead serious.
I would too. Yeah.
Dead serious. It's more fun to me.
Except we have to get right in.
Yeah. Waiting in the cold for 45 minutes wasn't great, but the show itself and regional MMA, like Morgantown, we even say the person that we've been talking about matched this card in Morgantown, March 18th. I'm going. Like, I want to be there unless she stops me at the door or something.
I would go, but I just feel like it would just bring drama, and I don't want drama.
Dude,
like, I want to support Kama. I love Kama. Like, they're billing it as like Kama's returning to cage fighting. Whatever. Like, you gotta draw. But ultimately, like, Kama's boxing there. I want to go. I just don't, like, if I knew that there would be no drama, I'd go.
Right.
But I don't know that, so I'm not.
Yeah, you can't be sure. But, like, that's a great card. Kama's on it, Tom Kaiser's on it, Ethan Hayes is on it for even just our purposes, like as a promotion in Pittsburgh. I want to support all those guys. I want to be there.
Absolutely.
I want to be there for that, so I'm going to be there for that. And I love, like, obviously I went to WVU. We just talked about covering the card in Morgantown. Special place in my heart for Morgantown shows.
I'm sorry?
Nice. Okay, hang on. The first time I ever heard that joke, I'm glad that I didn't fall into the trap.
Well, they don't know the joke, but...
Right. But I'm going to let you tell it, because the first time I ever heard it was at Bubba's Burgers with you, and you got the waitress with it bad. She bit so hard on it. And I was just like, that's the funniest. I forget. She said, where are you from originally? And she said...
At what capacity were we together at Bubba's? Were you working?
Yeah, I was working for you. Yeah, this was...
I didn't know if we had like a meeting prior.
No. This was post, like, me working for you and everything. We were just getting lunch or whatever. And we're talking to the waitress, and she was telling a story, and Ryan was like, where are you from originally? And she was like, Philadelphia. And he was like, I'm sorry? And she's like, Philadelphia. And he's like, no, I heard you. I'm just saying, I'm sorry, you're from Philadelphia originally. That was the first time I ever heard that. And I like almost fell out of my seat laughing. But now... I've heard you go back to that well like 6 times.
But that's my dad joke, bro. Like, most of the time, that's their first time. So
exactly.
Let them enjoy it.
Every time it happens when you go, I'm sorry, I'm like in my head looking at the other person like, don't do it.
Don't fall.
It's a trap. Yeah, that's fun. Good times.
I'm sorry?
Going to Morgantown for sure for that card. And I think we'll shout out another one that's just on my mind. I was thinking about talking about this earlier, but Tim Bailey's got a fight for WFC coming up tomorrow, I think.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Tomorrow.
He's probably weighing in.
No, it was same day weigh-ins probably, which is
Sorry,
dude, that
Tim.
should be illegal, bro. That's crazy. Somebody's going to get, well, never mind. That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Same day weigh-ins are bullshit. But yeah, so support the local scene is what I'm getting at. Like, we'll be at Cage Thunder. We'll be at this card in Morgantown. I would like to be in Cleveland, honestly.
And by
tomorrow.
wheel, he means heel.
Me.
I will not be. I would be. I would support like Cheyenne Hall fought for a different organization. I bought her shirt. Like, I will support. I want to support everyone. Like, I've considered. I own another company called 247 Roofing Solutions.
Is like 247roofingpgh.com. What's the website?
No, it's 247roofpgh.com.
Roof PGH, excuse me.
Danny works for them.
He sure does.
Danny
kills it.
Bah, 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 bah.
He's like, if I must hit it again.
Okay. Yeah. But I heard that there's a couple chipmunks that work for.
No.
Danny.
Don't you? No, Danny.
Danny, don't hit the chipmunk button.
Oh God.
No.
But
You know that he turned it on for a second for Kama's podcast?
No.
Oh, it was really cool. Big shout out to Kama. And, hey, if you're wanting to see more of Kama, which most people should want to see more of Kama, there's
100%.
They started a podcast like a year ago. They did one episode. It was called Something Weird, and then
What That Mouth Do?
and now it's called
the Fight
Worthy podcast.
That's a great name, by the way.
Agreed. And they're filming it here, right at the 247 live studio. So that's awesome.
Yep.
And you know,
It's not like
considering we trash him all the time,
Right.
and we're like, how dare us talk about someone who helped build a what?
I don't know. That was my fancy voice. Muse. That's what fancy people say. Yes,
But
with an M in the front.
this what else would you expect from people that like want to lift up serial killers?
Exactly. That's what we do. But on that note, I want to say, like, if you're watching this podcast and you like the production, you like the quality of this, you can also use this studio.
Yeah.
You can rent this space. We haven't really talked about this at all. It's not something that we've really marketed because we were still, learning how to use it ourselves, quite frankly. If you've been around since the beginning, you've seen the hiccups that we've had with the studio, but we got it in a place now where it's pretty smooth. So if you have a podcast and you just want access to high quality equipment, cameras, microphones, and production, then Come rent it. It's super affordable.
Yeah, ultimately, like a podcast studio at this level, like the level that we did it, is a huge investment, and a lot of times, like people don't have the means, so we're able to like, hey, if you don't want to pay $20,000 for equipment and you want to record podcasts and just pay like $100 here, $100 there, like this is a good solution for you.
And here's the beauty of it. Spoiler alert. Not every podcast you hear is live. You could come in one day and just spend 3 hours recording 6 episodes, and now you've got 6 for the price of 3 hours of your time.
Yep.
Space them out, make it worth your while. But yeah, I think we've got a good bow on this, man. I wanted, like I said in the beginning, I wanted to have this podcast because the story of 247 really is interesting. It's not, if I wasn't involved, I would never know the things that you just said. I mean, it's not something that, I'm trying to think the right way to say this.
I'm going to tell you.
You don't put it out there, so I wanted to put it out there for you because I don't know if it's humility or what it is, but like you don't want people to know that, but like it's a very important part of the story, so thank you for sharing that.
No, absolutely. And just know that like this promotion, we're truly committed to the gyms, the fighters, and if you want an opportunity, we have built like a platform, and we are continuing to build a platform where if you want to make something of this, like let's do this together, let's run together, and we're super committed to every aspect of it.
You know something crazy, Ryan?
What?
Right before this podcast, we got verbal confirmation of another title fight for April.
Oh, I know that.
So if you stuck around for this entire podcast, there's your nugget. There's your breaking news nugget.
The nugget is someone that fought like a week ago in a card that we were in attendance at is getting a title shot against an undefeated fighter at featherweight.
It's a banger. It's an absolute banger.
Boom, schlack, schlack.
Let's go.
It's unsigned, though.
It's unsigned. Exactly. That's why I said it's a verbal confirmation.
We're going to get those contracts out, and once they're come back signed, we'll be like, pow. Boom. How many fights have we announced? Do we know?
No idea. Can't even guess.
Did we announce how many this week? So we announced one today.
I've been going every other day for a while.
But did we do Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Yeah.
This week?
Not this week, no.
Yeah, I didn't think we did Monday, Wednesday. I didn't think we had 3 this week. I thought we
I switched it because we had the Strip District Meets announcement. Let me see.
Oh, and I wanted to give a quick plug. So
we've announced 10 fights.
We've been doing this for 4 years now. And you run across a lot of people. You do business with a lot of people. I want to give a certain shout out to Amber Harkleroad.
Nice.
Who Amber has literally, the DoubleTree, is it?
Oh, that would have been bad.
It's the DoubleTree, right? It's the DoubleTree on Racetrack Road, right? She works for the parent company for the DoubleTree and Racetrack Road, but Amber has literally been one of the best people I've ever done business with. They are phenomenal. We put together a great deal. Should be great for everyone, us and them, for hotels, for our Meadows shows in 2023 and possibly beyond, like if the Meadows is willing to have us back. But Amber is one of the like sales managers or event managers or something. But Amber has just been absolutely the best human being to work with. So huge shout out to Amber Harkleroad. We actually worked with her years ago when we first started out at Princegate Arena at the Homewood Suites. That's where she was at the time. And now she's down at Racetrack Road. She is phenomenal. That DoubleTree there is phenomenal. We can't wait to start this partnership, and the fighters will all be staying there. So if you're coming in for the show on April 15th or even in October 21st, make sure you stay at the best hotel that Washington, PA has ever known. The DoubleTree by Hilton.
Not only a super nice hotel with all the amenities that you want, but super easy walking distance from the Meadows and the event center specifically. It's literally right over the hill.
Yeah,
it's right there.
You walk like, yeah, I'm here.
Yep.
Okay, I wanted to go to the casino. I'm in my hotel room. Oh, no, now I'm in the casino.
Here. I'm in the casino. Yeah. Cool.
So it's right there. It's right next to Sheets.
Yep.
And so, like, yeah.
For those drunken 3 a.m. Sheets runs, you need it. You got to have it.
Listen, you're going to rehydrate after a fight or before a fight, or after your weigh-ins, rather. and like, you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, oh, man, I need more fluid.
Exactly.
Sheets. Although they're not a sponsor. So
that's true. Sheets doesn't sponsor us, but
DoubleTree or GetGo. Hey, we need a convenience store.
We kind of do.
That's the next challenge.
I'm on the case. On that note, I'm going to end with this. A big part of we've talked about almost shutting down 247, the ride, the roller coaster that it's been.
The crying on the bed. 5-person family sobbing like hysterically.
All of our sponsors help us keep going immensely too. We didn't give them a proper shot. We talk about the loan from the government, but sponsors helping us is equally valuable, man, and more actually.
Yeah, those guys have stuck with us, man.
Yeah,
we were like, oh, we have a show. Oh wait, you just gave us a bunch of money to have shows, and now we don't have shows anymore. And like, none of them were like,
yeah, well, I'm out
want
now.
Our money back.
Yep.
How awesome
freaking
is
huge,
that?
Dude. I mean, we were just talking to Sunny Days, and they're like, we sponsored the very first show, and still in it, bro.
And like, we love Sunny Days, like
the best.
Literally, if you want a company that has the best people and have the best motivations and are growing like crazy, and you need in-home care for your family or for a family member, like, there's no choice other than Sunny Days.
What, like, as an industry, what other industry would you want the best people help? Like, that is a very sensitive, intimate industry. You need good people in that industry. So they're the best. Dude.
The absolute best.
So thank you,
John,
guys.
Nick, we love you guys.
Yes.
Thank you for all you do.
This podcast. And thank you for everybody who has supported us throughout everything. Like I said, I'm a very small part of the 247 journey right now. This was Ryan's baby. This was Ryan's.
More Hunter
coming in 2023 and beyond, son.
More Hunter.
Hope you guys are ready for this mug right here coming at you more, baby.
By request. We're giving more Hunter.
Danny Paul did the joke snare, the drum. That was nice.
Dude, yeah, you need to switch that up. Good job.
That's awesome. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. This was a crazy story. Like I said, Ryan, I've known parts of it. There was some new stuff to me too, so that was cool. But he doesn't talk about it a lot. He doesn't toot his own horn a lot. Very humble where that's concerned. But the journey's crazy. And to the bigger point, we're just getting started, man. It really feels that way.
Great things are coming.
Yeah, stay tuned. See you guys later.
Thanks.